Greetings, greetings, greetings. Did you miss me? Huh? I didn't get blown away by the hurricane. But heart goes out to all of our Florida friends down in South Florida. They just absolutely got hammered. It looks like they're approaching $70 billion of damage. And for those of you who may not have seen some of the damage down there, it is just mind numbing how Mother Nature can be an amazing bitch. And so heart goes out to them all, but happy.
Hey, Uncle, your plan of setting up a wind power station and using it to drive Epic mining, did it work?
It did, but it got flooded out. I shouldn't have, put it in the basement. What am I thinking? What am I thinking? Oh, well, hey, you know what? We have a lot to talk about today, and this is going to be a tech update between Todd Lewis and Max Freeman. And before we dive into this, I just want to heighten the importance of having technologists who update projects that actually, are so focused on development. Again, I have to do a public service announcement for those poor people who keep getting sucked into the Crypto Vigilante, but they just had another rug pull, and I want to bring this up. This is their pick called XEQ. And for those of you who do not understand their business model, and yes, I am going to talk about it because I am tired of people getting bilked and losing all of their money to fund bunkers and ranches in Mexico. So when you take a look at this, is a coin called XEQ, and it is privacy focused. I don't know all the details. All I knew is that I knew way before the Crypto Vigilante started talking about it again to stay the heck away from it. This is what happens, guys, is you have the TCV folks, when they know what their coin pick is going to be, they are in here acquiring, right? They're acquiring at prices that are low. And then
actually, hold on, Uncle. I'm sorry. You need to zoom out because that thing started at basically zero. It got up, I think, over 60 cents if you went to year to date or all. So they're not buying there at 60 cents and selling to you at 65. They're buying at essentially nothing and then spinning a yarn. You gotta zoom out there.
Okay, well, I can't zoom out.
This is 1 month. It's down 96% over the past 6 months or something like that.
Okay, okay.
It's essentially fraud.
All right, okay. I can't zoom out because this was a screenshot, but I do want to say that what they, regardless, so you're saying that they bought closer to down here and they knew that later they were going to be promoting.
Well, if you look at the chart since inception, it reminds one of Pirate Chain, ARRR. It's out there for essentially nothing, and then that's the time to acquire. Trade Ogre is another conspirator in all these scams.
Yep.
And so they're picking up these obscure assets when nobody cares about them, and then usually partnering with the teams involved to make wildly inflated claims about things that get people to buy. And then it all falls apart later. So this was a 60-cent coin earlier this year.
Okay, so but what you see here is where once the pick is presented to the TCV community, they've already set up, the TCV folks have already set up their sell wall. So their subscribers are FOMOing in because remember, those who act first profit most. And then the reason why I'm even showing this is this was all on the promise of future development. And what we now know is there was one dev. And guess what? Right here, the dev shut everything off. He deleted everything and it went to zero. And so that's why we're doing tech updates like we're going to do today. Todd, I think he went off camera, but that's because I think it's really important for people to to be able to realize that, the way that we are managing this business. Okay, Max, I'm trying to find my mouse to admit you. Sometimes my mouse leaves me and I have to find it another way. So be patient. Be patient. I'm sorry. This is such bad. Note to self. Do I have to get a new computer? Jeez.
I'm the barber of Seville, Figaro.
There we go. All right. You're admitted now. You're admitted now. Sorry. I'm sorry, guys. Okay. So let me do a screen share here. And this is the Epic Cash weekly core tech newsletter, which is, it was published 2 weeks ago. So it's, I guess that would be what, bi-weekly? Yeah. So I'm just going to give you a quick peek. We're not going to go through it right now. I'm just going to tell you the difference between having one dev and being able to just promise the future, and having a team of devs led by Todd Lewis.
Multiple teams. I mean, I would point out the core tech team is just one of our tech teams. We've got several wallet initiatives going.
100%.
Outsiders contributing to the code base. This is just the core team.
Okay. Well,
Yes, this is just related to the Epic Core Protocol, which is tech track number 1. I'm working on budgets for the future quarters into 2023, and there's 42 different tech tracks on our radar screen. So what you're seeing is a peek behind the curtain for the first one of those 42.
And what I'm showing you before we dig into it is just that there are 15 pages here. And this is distributed every other week. And I asked Todd once he distributed it yesterday and we took a peek at it, if he would mind talking about this with Max. And I'm going to stop screen sharing unless, Todd, you tell me you'd like me to share any part of that, or if you would just like to talk it through. I don't know what would make for better viewing, is to actually have people see this and we go through page by page, or have you just talk about it. What would you prefer?
Either way is fine. We can just try talking, and then if I need the document, I can ask you to share it. Okay,
just tell me which page when you want me to share anything.
Yeah, sure.
Great.
And the other thing I would say is we try to strike a balance in that newsletter between, we really want to be transparent around what's happening with the core technology, and so it sometimes does get technical.
Yeah.
But we don't want it to be so technical that lay people can't understand it. So we do try to strike a balance there, and we also hope that the material in the newsletter is reusable for other, other marketing and communication purposes inside of Epic. Mm-hmm. So we just want to be, we want to be telling the world about our work. We want to be getting feedback on our work, and getting input from the community. And so we try to, have good discipline around publishing the news, and we do. We publish the newsletter every 2 weeks.
Yep.
Come rain or shine. We don't have hurricanes down here in Brazil, so it's a little easier for us. But yeah, it's posted to Epicentral Labs, and anyone who wants to know what's going on down in the engine room as far as advancing the core protocol, then that's where you'll see it. And in recent issues, you will have seen the CDN speed up that is taking startup times from 3 days to 15 minutes. You would have seen our work on quantum resistant proof of work algorithms. And this week you see some, I love our testing work, and I think our testing work is really important to the future of the coin. But it's one of those things that's often very boring. And I understand if other people aren't as excited about it as I am, but
we like it when you're excited. So let's take a look at this. Better automated testing, a human-like approach.
And let me just look at my version of the document here.
Sure. Hello, everyone in the chat. Great seeing you here. It's been a while, so thank you for coming back.
Well, while he's pulling it up, I'd just like to speak a little bit. It's hard to imagine. Let me see what is their rank here. So Solana, the number 9 network. I remember Todd and I studying the core proof of history consensus mechanism a couple years ago. And here's a $12 billion asset that has a very different approach to quality. In other words, not like we're doing it. And the network goes down constantly. I think there's been 9 or 10 or 11 outages. And basically the engineers need to go and constantly restart the system. So the key takeaway here, without getting lost in the tech details, is that we're building on a much more solid foundation, not just in terms of the technology approach, but also the engineering approach that helps us guide those decisions about what choices we make. So, we're optimizing for safety, and that's a little slower, but ultimately we won't have the same kind of problems that others did that took a quick and dirty approach.
So there are issues with Solana now?
It's been down, I think 9 times, something like that. I don't want to
Yeah.
I don't want to
Okay.
talk bad about someone else's project, but it's an open question about whether cowboy engineering is okay. Like Ethereum has problems all the time, and it seems fine. So maybe that's okay. It's really an open question, and it remains to be seen how much value the market places on reliability.
Shit.
We think it's important, but not everybody does.
You know what I think I just did? I think I literally just shut off the live stream. I'm not kidding you, because I was trying to get out of the well, no, it says we're live streaming. So let me go to
I can see it on YouTube. It says Solana. Yeah.
Okay, carry on. I have to get back on YouTube then, just so that I can see it.
Yeah, look at that. Pull up XEQ.
Yeah, let me just pull up my channel first, so we
okay.
We can get to the live stream. Okay, because all right, we're back. Never left. I was just kidding. That was a fake left. Go right. Okay, let me share my screen and get back to the good stuff for Todd. Okay, Todd. Sorry about that interruption.
No problem. So the human-like approach to testing, I want to actually show you one of the tests. One of the reasons
you want me to stop sharing so you can show?
If you don't mind.
And let me. I'm going to make you co-host so that you can. I don't know if that's necessary or not, but you're co-host now.
Okay, let me see. Just a minute.
I'm excited to get a visual look at what your testing looks like.
Well, and here you can you see my screen here?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, so this is on GitHub, Epic Cash testing, right?
Okay.
And what you'll note, this is computer code. This is the actual definition of the test. And the testing framework consumes this and runs these operations through a simulated blockchain. But you'll notice, Uncle, you haven't coded in a while, but correct me if I'm wrong, this is somewhat readable to a non-technical person.
Even I could read that.
Yeah. So if I have a policy that says no ProgPal, so we're not using ProgPal in the proof of work,
okay,
and I'm on the Flunet network, and I start a local node, then the chain is downloaded and synced.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, there's a test, right? Doing it this way does a few things. Number one, it dramatically lowers the barrier to entry. A lot of people in our community, if they were motivated, could be writing tests like this.
Wow. Okay,
because you don't actually have to be that technical in order to take one of these tests, copy and paste it, and change a few things to test a slightly different scenario. It's an accessible kind of thing that can be done.
Mm-hmm.
Second is you can look at these tests and start to understand some of the properties of what the system does, because you see what we're actually testing. Right?
This is very interesting. Yes, right.
And third, this is just a lot faster to build a test than it is if you're writing the raw code in Rust.
Okay.
Okay, so we can define a test here in literally just a few minutes.
And it's also error proof. The scope for humans to make mistakes is much less because Rust code is highly abstruse, and if you miss a comma, you're gonna have a problem. Whereas here, the English is a lot more manageable. So that's important.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call it safety, because Rust does a very good job. If you make a mistake in your Rust code, it's going to vomit all over you and refuse to. But it can't. So it's safe.
And thus, every time I see you, you look all. You never look like you have vomit on your vest, your vest.
I'm a wonderful developer, and I write very little code these days. But but it can be a very frustrating experience, especially if you're an inexperienced Rust developer, to try to get all the pieces together and make it work. Whereas this is a much more accessible environment for people to come in and I think make real contributions to the project. So this is something we've been extending recently. We're adding a bunch of new tests, and we're thinking for a while it's going to be a standard part of the newsletter where we highlight a few different tests and show them to the community and explain how they work. But this framework, because it is accessible to less technical people, is something that I think is a big opportunity for community involvement. People ask me all the time. They say, I'm somewhat technical. I'd like to help with Epic, but I'm not a Rust developer. What can I do? This is a big thing that people can come in and make a contribution that really helps. We want to have thousands of these tests, And
but what are you testing? I mean, now just come down to my level.
It's a good question. Well, I mean, here, if you start with a certain policy, then the chain is downloaded and synced. So that just makes sure that the bootstrapping is working when you have a non-standard policy. Okay.
Okay.
So here I have a no progpal policy. I'm using the FluNet. I start a local node. It's downloaded and synced, and I can connect to more than one peer.
Mm-hmm. So what this means is, because we have this automated test suite, it was moving mountains to get up to version 3, because all testing was manual. We changed something one place, and then a butterfly flaps its wings in Chicago, and then there's an avalanche in Kenya. These are very, very complex systems. So by wrapping testing around existing functionality and making sure that it's easy for the humans that are working with the code and the broader community to work with, it really speeds up development. So this is an upfront investment that'll pay off in terms of our ability to execute quickly on 4, 5, 6, and beyond, as we add new features. As systems get more complex, they tend to cause reverberations in other areas. And without something like this, it becomes unwieldy. If you've ever used Facebook recently, then you know what I'm talking about.
So, but from my standpoint, like, I'm not a techie guy. Maybe, I mean, I would never be interested in this just because it's not my side of the brain, but I can understand community members that say, I am somewhat technical and I would like to help, and they come in, but ultimately I would think somebody just can't come in cold and say, okay, let me start testing. Don't they need to have some kind of guidance from you or your team of, here's what we're trying to break or test? Or that's what it confuses me is
well, I mean, you can look at the existing test and say, okay, they're testing A, but what if we changed B? What if we changed C? What would that be like? Okay. And all you have to do is sit down with the text editor and you can start writing these tests in this quasi-English form. It's not just, you do have to like put the words in the right order. It doesn't understand everything that you say, but it understands wallet operations, chain operations, node thinking. It has support for all of these operations.
So then if somebody wants to do this, Todd, they would come in, and then I would presume they would have some kind of go-to guide that would be built in of what are, like, what's the foundation, whether it's testnet or no progpal or nodes or local listener.
If you want to know what any of these things does, then you go read the Rust code where it's documented, and then the Rust code actually implements it. Okay. Yep. But But it's a lot easier to read Rust code than it is to write Rust code. And you can always just hop on Epicenter Labs and ask us, and we're happy to answer questions.
Now, this is in a test environment, obviously, right? So
Yes.
nobody has to worry about breaking anything or
Nope.
screwing something up. But
Nope.
ultimately, then let's walk through the process. Like with
what it does is it'll create it locally on your machine. It'll create multiple Epic nodes, connect them to each other, and they start exchanging messages. And then they start mining blocks and processing transactions.
Wow.
Yeah, we have a development environment called FluNet where when new things come out, we test them there and see what breaks and fix it.
I mean, this is so important. Correct me if I'm wrong, but when I think of Epic Cash now, I do not just think of Epic Cash. I think of the Epic ecosystem, and everybody has seen the visual of all of the subway stops and such. So for all of that to ultimately get connected, there has to be just a boatload of testing that goes on behind the scenes before something is actually released as a next version. And so this then is your test net, right, Todd?
These are the tests that run on the test net. Yeah.
Okay. What's the difference between a test net and a FluNet?
Well, FluNet is the public test net. You also can create a private test net on your machine.
Okay.
And then we also have a canary network coming, which is kind of like in between those things. That's what the role that ECK will serve. So Epic needs to be 100% uptime. ECK can be 99.999, whatever.
Okay. All right. So I think you stopped sharing, right?
Can you also pull up, Todd, the tests that that little graph with the dots on it about the wallet transactions? We've been working with the folks over at VTEX.
Yeah, if you bring up the report again, it's in there.
Yep.
It's got a little blue
I got it.
graph. Okay,
I got it right now. Hang on.
So what this is most users don't run into any kind of problems. There's thousands of nodes all over the world, and we know from the help desk that it's very stable. But the highest volume user in our ecosystem is VGate rather, and because they have so many transactions, it ends up taking, in this case, 40 seconds. The guys are currently in the process of overhauling the code to bring that down to what, Todd, probably less than a second, something like that.
Well, less than a second.
Yeah. So as we prepare for higher volumes of use, this is a problem that other people will not encounter because we're taking the time to refactor the code now.
Okay, so explain what I'm looking at here.
Right. So as you put more transactions through a wallet, the amount of time it takes to process a single transaction is going up.
On an individual wallet, or you're talking about multiple?
No, a single wallet.
Okay.
So as you start to have thousands and tens of thousands of transactions in your wallet, the processing time is going pretty bad.
I see.
Yeah. It turns out this is not a very complicated problem. The wallet, when it was first developed, was not tested at large scales. And we tested it, and the problem's very obvious, and the source of the problem in the code is very obvious. So we're going in right now and we're fixing it.
That's
what's very interesting at this point is we started from the Grin code base many years ago, and over time we keep diverging more and more because Grin doesn't have a lot of usage and we do. So they have never had a reason to fix this bug, but we do. So we started off on that same branch, but now increasingly we're diverging. Interestingly enough, if even though the Grin guys hate us, we don't feel the same way. If anybody from Grin camp is listening, we'd be happy to share this stuff with you and help improve the code base. So don't be shy to reach out.
And to reinforce that, I mean, we have a lot of gratitude for them and for the other coins in the Mimblewimble space. Our test framework is something that I think could very easily be reused in other projects. And we would love for them to use it because it makes the world a better place for everyone to have better software testing.
Why is that? Shouldn't you be, more defensive and like, no, hey, this is our sandbox? And I'm kind of being facetious, but I know you're sincere when you say that the world would be a better place. But that just seems so anti today, because it seems like if somebody's developing something that is special, they want to just keep it to themselves because that becomes a point of differentiation.
Well, that's never been the ethos in all of crypto, where almost everything is open source, and all the successful projects are open source. And our disagreements with Grin are philosophical ones about, for example, the money supply of the coin, the importance of multi-algorithm proof of work. Those are philosophical differences.
Mm-hmm.
And those will be resolved in the marketplace, where users will decide whether they want, a Grin-like money supply that just keeps going to infinity, or an Epic and Bitcoin style money supply, which tapers off exponentially and has a hard limit.
Mm-hmm.
And we do disagree with them about that philosophically, but we're still allies in the project of bringing Mimblewimble to the world. And
right.
we want to win on the philosophy. We don't want them to fail because of stupid problems that we could help with. So
got it.
I'd be very happy for them to take our testing. We'd be happy to cooperate with them on it, and it's just an open invitation.
Okay.
The other similar code bases too. When users have software crashing or things not working right, how does it make anything better for anybody?
Right.
That's not what the competition is supposed to be.
Their failure doesn't help our success.
Yeah.
So then where is it doesn't sound from our end that we have any issue of smoking a peace pipe. So
lots of gratitude and respect for those guys.
Okay. So there you go, Grin folks. There's an open invitation. Anybody wants to join us here on the show, just have a chat. Doesn't even have to be a live stream. It could just be a private chat to say hello and maybe try to forge a 1 + 1 = 11 relationship of some sort. So good. That's very cool. All right. While we have this up, let's just continue. We talked about better automated human testing. Hey, why don't we do the smart thing and go up to the top to where we kind of blew through? We have the intro. So talk about send runtime for massive wallets.
Yeah, well, this is the issue that as you have more transactions, the processing time is slowing down. Okay.
So VGate did 35,000 received transactions and 950 sent on this particular wallet instance. We don't know if they've had more wallets before that. I think they must have. So think about that for a second. 35,000 received transactions. There's a lot of people who are doing Epic mining as a source of paying the bills and keeping the lights on where they are. 950 cent. Those are the people that have taken the time to get their coins off and take them to the GUI wallet or the Stack wallet. So that shows we've got a really, really wide distribution on the mining side, which is awesome. Thousands of nodes in 121 countries last we checked. And then 950 people took the time to self-custody their coins in the most secure possible way. So that's what this is telling us.
Excellent. Okay. And then creating a massive wallet. So I guess we've already discussed.
Yeah, we actually used the automated testing to push thousands of transactions through the wallet. And it was great because we have an automation framework, right?
Yeah.
So, and having the automation framework there lets us very quickly push these kinds of scenarios through the wallet or through the chain and test different aspects of the system's behavior. And it puts us in a lot more control over what the system is doing. It lets us create scenarios, measure them, find problems in the system, and drive bug fixing and feature improvements.
Amazing.
And without this, it would be weeks of work compressed to days of work, or days of work compressed to hours of work. Similar order of magnitude type improvements, and also reducing friction, because when there's problems in one area, it holds up progress in other areas, and then you don't have things operating in parallel, then you have sequential delays built in.
Because I mean, let's just fantasize a bit. If Epic Cash does become when Epic Cash becomes the world reserve currency, there's going to be a boatload of transactions, right? So you have to rewind all the way back to this kind of testing to be able to accommodate, correct?
Yeah. And also, I think we did the right thing by building it for small scale usage to start and then tackling these bottlenecks as we go. That's strategically the right way to handle it.
Yeah.
Good.
And also, we're seeing some other examples of how different approaches play out in the market. Zcash, I think, still has a $2+ billion market cap. They got out to market much faster. But today, I was reading, or maybe yesterday, I was reading about a DDoS situation. Part of the reason only 2% of Zcash transactions are actually private is because the computational requirements to sign shielded transactions are so large. And so apparently you can mess with the network with a very minimal amount of money. There's kind of a war going on there because originally they started out with a single algorithm proof of work for mining called Equihash. And now they're trying to do the Ethereum thing of moving to proof of stake. And there's a little bit of a war going on there. So above all else, we're going to have harmony in our ecosystem and in our community because we're setting ourselves up for success, not failure.
We like harmony. All right, better automated testing. We reviewed this. Okay, talk to us about the new tests that you have going on here, Toddy.
Yeah, we've added some more features to the test framework, and we're adding a bunch of new testing on there. Some of it's done, some of it's coming, but this is a continued area of work by the team. And as we work bug reports from the community, we'll go back and as a pretty standard practice and add new automated tests to cover the kinds of things that get reported in.
Can you educate us? What is Keybase/Tor SYN methods? I mean, I know of Tor. I've never used it. From what I understand, that's how you get to a different area of the internet. I don't know.
Tor is the onion router, and it's a imagine if you were running a private post office over the top of the postal service.
Okay.
So I want to send a letter to Max, but first I send it to you, and then you put it back in the mail to Max.
Okay.
But then imagine that instead of one stop in between, we put 15 stops in between.
Okay.
Okay. So it obscures the source of the traffic.
So it's kind of like a Monero transaction, right?
Except that it's done much more cheaply and easily, and it's done outside of the core network. So it doesn't complicate the core of the cryptocurrency.
And the data isn't stored anywhere in a blockchain.
Okay.
It's stored in various three-letter agency databases, but it's not stored in a blockchain publicly for anyone to data mine.
Okay.
So all we're doing here is we're setting up a private Tor network and just testing to make sure that sending through Tor continues to work.
Okay.
And with the testing, it'll continue to work in the future.
Because sending through Tor, there is going to be a certain segment of the population, right, who are just going to be there are those who don't give a crap about any kind of privacy. There are those who would like to be as private as possible, but just kind of by default. And then there are those that are like, I'm not going to use anything unless it's like as private can be. And those people would probably use the Tor method. Is that fair to say? To send?
Yes, but even more fundamentally, it's a feature we support.
Right.
And I would also add that it's number one, it's dangerous to use blockchains in various parts of the world now. So protecting from totalitarian tyranny is an important capability. But even if that's not your cup of tea and not a concern for you, then it opens up different pathways for integration, as we've seen with Beats and GUI and Stack Wallet, and Robert has a Stellar Bridge, and now we're doing EXPR. It opens up another set of possibilities for people to choose different communication channels based on their needs.
Is Tor, and again, sorry, but hey, this is what you get with me. I admit I don't know a lot of things.
Educational, man. A lot of our audience will have these questions.
Yeah,
too.
is the Tor network basically a VPN, a different VPN?
Yeah, it's like a dynamic series of VPNs.
Okay.
So the origin of the traffic is hidden through all the
Okay. Okay.
Right.
So,
And I would also like to add on number 8 that Epic uniquely supports sending by file. As a way to get around censorship, a great firewall, other kind of digital denial of service type stuff, that presents a whole world of possibilities. Now, today we have a relatively seamless one world connected internet. I mean, of course, if you live in China, that's different, but the rest of us can communicate with each other. But I don't personally think that we can always take that for granted. And if we can't, then having abilities to send by file and emojis is going to be really important. So this is an example of the type of forward thinking that we like to bake in ahead of time for things that might come to be true, break glass in case of quantum emergency.
by the way, for everybody out there, I was thinking of you, Todd Lewis, on Netflix. There's a series. It's a Turkish series, so you have to read the subtitles. But it has ended up being so good, at least for me. When I'm not watching football and I want to just be brain dead, it's called Resurrection Etugrol or something. It's the guy's name. And it's like back in the days to where there were the Crusaders and the nomads and such, and they were communicating, man, by carrier pigeon a lot. And I'm like, man, they're probably sending each other epic cash.
Yeah, well, and file sending is interesting because it's very, very flexible. Once you dump your transaction to a file, you can then send it through Telegram or WhatsApp. You can upload it to a web page. You can attach
email.
Email if you want to do email. I don't recommend email.
Right.
But file is especially useful because it is so flexible, right? You can send files over almost any medium.
Right.
And they're compact too. How much of the files? I think they're only a few kilobytes, aren't they?
Yeah, 1 to 2K. Yeah, they're not big. Right.
Wow.
So, and again, you could print it out. You could print it out as a QR code. You could wrap it around the leg of a carrier pigeon. It would work.
That's amazing. I mean, we kind of joke about it, but it's amazing.
It would work. Yeah. So that's all the reasons to use these particular methods. But as engineers, we have another agenda here.
Yeah.
Whether the feature is one people should use or whether one that some people use for good reasons or bad reasons, for us, it doesn't really matter. If we say the feature is supported in Epic, then it's really important that it work for people who want to use it. Right. That's the really important thing. And automated testing is the most important tool for making sure that continues to be true.
Okay, that's amazing. Excellent. All right, well, let's go to page. So we just have more testing here. Anything here of import, guys, that you just kind of want to?
No, it's just anyone who's interested, you can get the report and read it, and it's a walkthrough of how we're structuring the test. And again, this is going to be something we're talking about more in the weeks to come because we think it's something that interested and motivated members of the community potentially could. It's a way that you can get more involved in the technology of how Epic works. That's
very cool. Yeah, seriously, it's very cool. Yeah. And there have been some just recent additions to the community who have, Max, I'm sure you have them all on the top of your head, who came in, just like a few months ago, and then Levy comes to mind. All of a sudden, he's just adding so much value, and he just dove in head first into the shallow end to just learn and
Black Tiger was installing Windows in the UK up there in Scotland a couple of years ago, and he taught himself programming at night, and now he's got a promising career as a full stack developer.
Awesome.
So this type of great. This type of accessibility makes us stronger as a project, as a community, and really increases the scope of opportunities for people that didn't come from traditional computer science university educational backgrounds to change careers and upskill and get involved.
But is all of this, especially going through the hassle of putting it all together, Todd Lewis, is it all worth it when we're just a shitcoin?
Well, I mean, if all we're doing is preserving the ability of humanity to peacefully exchange goods and services and complete the monetary revolution and leave people in control of their property rights, then maybe it's worth it. I don't know.
Okay, somebody out there cut that and just turn that into a less than 60-second meme, please.
But again, if all this means to you is just the coin price, then that's fine. But for some of us, it's about more than that, right?
Yeah.
It's about the billion people on this planet that the traditional banking system doesn't give a crap about and doesn't serve, and who are frozen out of the global economy.
Mm-hmm.
And also let's look at the Agenda 2030 stuff. The vision for the world that the people in charge have for us is you will own nothing, be happy, and they're already feeding us bugs. So if you don't like that, then what's your alternative? December 13th, Executive Order 14067 is going to change the economic landscape, financial world as we know it. We don't know what's going to happen. It's shrouded in secrecy, but the general theme is that money today is relatively free flowing. I can send a wire transfer from here to there. I can spend my money how I want. But we can see a vision of what's to come in places like China, where their currency expires if you don't use it, or if you criticize or don't use it within a certain amount of time. If you criticize the government, your money gets turned off. PayPal just turned off the account of the Free Speech Union in the UK, which I found highly ironic. So we take the availability of a medium of exchange and store of value for commerce completely for granted, and many of us don't realize that how fragile that is, and that it can be taken away at any time, and that for years we've been told that it is going to be taken away. So if you have an alternative and you're a frog in the boiling water and it's getting hotter degree by degree, how hot does it have to get for you to jump out? Ignorance isn't information.
Here's my question that I think is relevant. Can either of you report on, I've heard of these two banks. One is the Swiss.
I got a flosser here too. Look at you guys. Just two Todds with flossers talking about crypto.
It's so funny. I usually down below, but I'll grab it and I'll just kind of play with it like that. So, but you never see me go like this, do you? No, I don't. I try to be polite, but there's these two banks that they're talking about that are about ready to just go down. Do either of you know the name of them? Somebody in the
Credit Suisse is one. Who's the other one?
Credit Suisse, and anyone in the chat? Anyone? Gosh, it's one of the big boys.
Banks are fundamentally insolvent always by design. That's the fractional reserve model, so that you have recourse to things like deposit insurance and men with guns surrounding pools of Middle Eastern oil and all kinds of fragile band-aids to keep an unstable paradigm held together.
Let's take a look at one of these banks. If it, like, literally somebody, Deutsche Bank. Thank you, Tillman. So if Deutsche Bank, I don't know, fails, is it too big to fail? I don't know. But if it fails, what are the effects of that for those who bank with them and for the economies? And how would Epic Cash be a counterbalance to that? Or how would have Epic Cash created a scenario to where there could not have been that type failure?
We don't have to speculate about this. We have lots of history on it. So when the Cyprus banks failed and depositors had like 40 cents on the dollar just removed from their bank account, that's not a hypothetical. When the Greek banking system was under a lot of stress, And the European elites pointed out, we centralized the printing press, but we left you national governments responsible for deposit insurance without recourse to the printing press, which is just like the stupidest strategic mistake to make ever, because all deposit insurance ever was just a thin veneer over the front of the printing press. You can't do deposit insurance without a printing press, right?
Wow. Right.
Epic is politically neutral money that doesn't depend on anything that people in power do. In 1990,
no bank failure is going to compromise your ownership of the keys of your Epic Cash wallet.
Or the functionality of the chain, or your ability to transact with other people. If you had rubles in 1990, you could still spend them in the Soviet countries. Come 1991, you were wiped out. So there's a whole a mess of sticky issues that you have an unlimited landscape of incalculable risks that take infinite time to try to understand how they might impact you, or you have a simple, complete, comprehensive solution to not have to care about any of that stuff. And by the way, whenever unlike if Grin fails, that doesn't help us. But when national currencies and banks fail, you better believe that's going to be wind in our sails.
That'll be wind in our sails. I mean, I think everybody will agree with me. Over the last couple of weeks, every time you turn on anything, or I don't watch news on TV, but certainly you get some through your phone or whatever, and it just seems like there is just a lot of smart people screaming at the top of their lungs that we are about to go into a colossal crash, like depression stuff, really, really bad. And so, knowing that. I mean, and I'm not saying this to lead the witness here, but knowing that if folks have fiat money right now, I mean, certainly investing in Epic Cash would be a good hedge about right now, would it not?
Well, I mean, let's think about what a hedge is. It's something that is uncorrelated and has inverse economics. So statistically uncorrelated, right? The crypto complex doesn't pay much attention to the macroeconomic cycle. The Federal Reserve's interest rate moves don't really move the crypto market.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost completely uncorrelated to the US dollar. So just from a financial analysis point of view, it's a wonderful hedge. It's also a fundamentally scarce asset in a world with a ton of inflationary pressure.
Right.
So, in the 1970s, if you diversified into those kinds of assets, you did very, very well.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, and also marketability and ability to transact with others. If you have wealth inside the Chinese banking system, that's very useful to do transactions in China, but not so useful outside. If you have Peruvian sol, similarly, that's good in Peru, but not so much outside. Epic is a single worldwide, unified, seamless market where you can transact instantly with any other party, and nobody can put any restrictions on what you do with your money.
Max, you mean the fiat version of the Peruvian sol, not the old gold rounds, right?
A piece of 8 R.
Oh,
I might have an escudo hanging around here somewhere.
Okay, so everyone, I know Max has an interview for his DNA of Bitcoin podcast. So
can I do a wrap up?
Yeah, please do.
We publish the newsletter every 2 weeks. It's published in Telegram on Epicentral Labs. And if you're interested in knowing what's going on down in the engine room with the core technology, pop over and take a look.
And I'm just going to quickly go through the remaining pages here.
Flunet, it's just an explanation of what we're doing with Flunet and keeping it available for people to do testing, especially if you're doing development. Flunet is really useful.
Yeah, so those people who are development minded are going to read this, and it'll be like me going to a website and checking out the NFL football scores. This just gets me excited. Some people, maybe they don't go to football and and have it be food for their soul, but I hope that there are some developers out there that are watching this that do. All right, let me stop
And
sharing.
I also think beyond just developers, if you are, let's say, an enterprise that wants to build on blockchain for your business, are you going to pick one that has a haphazard approach to quality?
Very good point.
You're not sure whether it's going to have a problem 2 years from now. So even if this is not something that most people will look at, I can guarantee you that, for example, there's 1,000 digital asset hedge funds out there, and they have analysts that compare one project to another and benchmark their approach to quality. So
Right.
we are showing signals of long-term reliability, sustainability, and that we're here for more than just getting some more dollars out next quarter in a pump and dump scheme. This is a technology foundation for the indefinite future, and as long as we keep doing this, we are likely to win.
Well, and I will share with everyone, I don't think it's a secret, but our core team has been hard at work on raising a lot of money. And part of that has been receiving the requirements from potential investors to where they have their list of questions that are very comprehensive. And I will tell you, our answers to those questions are so damned impressive. So when it gets down to like this, I remember it, right? There's one that wanted to explore what was our testing. And they asked these in-depth questions. And I can imagine if, our answer was, we have a part-time dev. You know what I mean, Max? The document I'm talking about. It was just very impressive. And I think that, get a lot of attention.
Yeah,
Well,
one of these days, we've taken so much heat from the purveyors of these types of scams, and there's a lot of confusion out there. But ultimately, when the emperor is revealed to be naked, and all of those who were discussing the fine embroidery on his cloak are revealed to be not credible, then people should rapidly reevaluate what it is we have to offer. So it's almost as if kind of like a yo-yo or a rubber band. We've been kind of kept down by a lot of that type of stuff. And
Yes.
as that clears up, we can really find our stride.
We win.
From our side, we just keep trying to make the system better.
Right. Yep. I just need to go back and screenshot that because that's the best thumbnail. Todd Lewis going.
Try to keep making it better.
No, you gotta make it better, Todd.
Ultimately, the value of these systems derives from their utility and their usage. So if you look at Cardano as an example, I think it had like less than 1 TPS yesterday, something like that. You've got all this capacity that isn't used. And so we need to be focused on getting our chain to be used. Within 5 years, we should be able to handle over 1 billion transactions a day at the chain level. But if we've got this fat pipe and nobody's using it because there's friction in other parts of the system, or it's too hard or too unstable or whatever, then that doesn't do us any good. So we're kind of skating ahead of the puck and thinking ahead. We always keep our long-term vision in mind, which is billions of users, trillions of dollars. And on that scale, if you have one person in 10,000 that experiences an issue and you get 1 million users, then that's 10,000 unhappy people. So to operate at the kind of scale we believe is possible, we have to get really, really, really reliable.
Exactly. All right. Todd, do you have anything to wrap it up?
No, I think I'm going to go work on making the system better.
Okay, we love you for it. All right, Max, have a great interview. Everyone in the chat, thank you. And we will see you on Friday, which should be a good one. I promise.